Welcome to the Gloves Are Off Overtime Edition. I'm Moses Woldu. We've got a great show, at least the topics that we can get to, and quickly get to them for you. But first, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Greg Buchanan, and our guest, Lakeland Rustlers women's basketball coach, Chris King. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Excellent. All right, we'll start off with this. Scott KAZMIR kind of had a resurrection of sorts through his baseball career with the Cleveland Indians last season. Looks for a big payday. Looks like Oakland's going to pay him 2 years, about $22 million. Is what it's worth, the contract. So knowing this, is that a good amount of money for a guy who's just coming back into his form? And considering that Bartolo Colon was looking for big money, looks like he's going to be gone. Is that a fair trade for Oakland?
I don't mind it for Oakland. You're taking a little bit of a risk, and Oakland will take a little bit of a risk on small scale. It's not like they're paying $20 million a year on this. Now, KAZMIR was pretty good, but he was out for, what, 2 full seasons before this?
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think usually when guys go to Oakland, it works out pretty well for Oakland's situation. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Oakland's always going to take those risks. You know what, Oakland's, a lot of times they've gone after players that everybody's kind of maybe given up on and have given, like Bartolo Colon, pretty well everybody's given up on him, including weight loss. You know, and it was great to see him re-erect.
Even after his PED problem and
really,
suspension, he still came back and pitched pretty well.
Yeah, I can't understand that he's under performance-enhancing drugs because I've never seen a rear end that big. So,
recreation enhancing.
Yes, exactly.
All right, guys. Well, let's move our attention from one baseball team to another, Toronto Blue Jays. I guess maybe this is the sign of giving up on JP Arencibi as your everyday catcher. They ended up signing Dinian Navarro from the Chicago Cubs. Where does JP now lie in the whole stature?
I would like to see him in Double-A personally. I think JP's kind of done. He didn't hit the ball well. He's not a great defensive catcher. And I think for Blue Jays fans, you got to get excited about a guy that hit 300. When's the last time you can say a Blue Jays catcher was hitting 300?
I don't know, Pat Borders?
Pat Borders likely.
Back in the glory days, yeah.
Ernie Witt, you know, that's way going back. I think there's about half the Blue Jays that should probably play in Double-A. And I think more than anything, he doesn't manage a pitching staff very well. And not saying that he's to blame, the reason why the pitching staff is horrible for Toronto, but yeah, he doesn't manage a pitching staff well. He's not good defensively, and he doesn't swing a very strong bat. So JP should be hitting down the road.
Okay, but catchers, I think his issue is like with hitting. I can understand that. He's struggled. But, you know, if he was more so of a defensive catcher, a guy who was more reliable, he'd still stick around, right?
Oh, you could live with it, yeah.
Yep.
You could see guys like that, like Blanco with the Braves back in the day. Like, guys will stick around if they can manage the pitching staff and throw guys out. But Arencibi is not great behind the dish. He gets a lot of pass balls, so I think the writing's on the wall for him.
I think Toronto's got to do a lot of things during the offseason to get better, and getting rid of him will be one of the things.
Well, this is one sign of maybe things to come for the Blue Jays and AA. All right, Auburn, Alabama. Speaking of AA, you got 2 teams here. Probably, arguably, the biggest upset, Iron Bowl history. A missed field goal leading to a 108-yard touchdown the other way. Who's to blame in this situation? Because there were a lot of people who were blaming the kicker. Death threats were sent. He actually had to change his Twitter name. That's how serious it got. It was not
Changed
pretty.
His Twitter name, oh my.
Well, it sounds funny, but there is a serious undertone to it, as well as the tragedy that involved with several fans from this game, which is sad altogether.
Yeah.
But sticking with football and just sticking with what happened here, who's to blame or who gets credit? Auburn for pulling out the victory, or Alabama for the misplay calling, I think, by Nick Saban, their head coach?
I think Auburn, great play, right? That's kind of a fluke play that happens like once every 10 years that a guy returns that for a touchdown. Now, if you watch that full game, I think you'd have a hard time telling me that Auburn wins, if they play 10 times, that Auburn wins more than 2 or 3 times out of 10. I think Alabama's the better team, and it was just a fluke play. And credit to Auburn for winning that game. Awesome for them. But it was a great football game. I think Alabama's better. That's just my opinion.
You know what? We've seen that in the CFL a few times with missed field goals, especially if they're lining up really long field goal. And you've seen some returns, some very good returns and returns for touchdowns. You don't see it very much down south. because of how the game's played down there. But why was he kicking a field goal that far?
Give it to McCarron. They've done a great job when it comes to those 4th and short situations.
Yeah, I question the decision to kick the field goal.
To go with the coach.
Yeah.
I'll say this: does it hurt Alabama's chances of going to the BCS championship and three-peating?
100%. Unfortunately, I would love to see those two play each other again, but I think now you're going to see, hopefully, it'll be Auburn and Florida State. I don't want to see Ohio State in there. I don't think they're a very good football team, but I would love to see those two play each other again.
Yeah, I think eventually that will hurt Alabama's chances.
All right, guys. Didn't hurt your chances being on the show. Greg, thank you as always. And Chris, awesome to have you on. We'll love to have you on later on sometime.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
All right, and thank you for joining us on the overtime edition of Gloves. You can tune in every Tuesday night on CITL at 7:30, and then tune into our Facebook page to kind of check out the rest of the remaining questions that weren't answered. Until then, we will see you in 7 days.